Hi, I'm Andrew Griffiths, and tonight I'm going to be discussing with you three family forms that come from Chapter 8. The first family form I'm going to be talking about is cohabitation. Cohabitation is when a couple who isn't married decide to live together. One reason for doing this is because the individuals have uncertainty when it comes to total commitment that marriage brings. So they decide to move in, boyfriend, girlfriend, they're going to move in, but not necessarily commit to them for life. Another reason for cohabitation is some couples decide to live together before marriage as a sort of tester to see if they can actually live together or to see if they're compatible, and moving in together symbolizes some form of commitment, so they kind of test the waters and see if they're ready for the next step. Cohabitation has become a big alternative to marriage and is an ever-growing lifestyle choice. According to our text, about 6.8 million heterosexual U.S. heterosexual couples cohabit, which just goes to show that it's just ever-growing. Usually, adolescents and young individuals cohabitate, and 3/4 of cohabitors are under 45. So it's usually younger people, maybe out of high school or young boyfriend, girlfriend. Um, when this is the case, most individuals who decide to cohabitate have a lower academic achievement. So people who don't do so well and they just decide to live with their boyfriend, girlfriend. Um, and older cohabitating couples usually have a longer relationship than adolescent cohabitating couples. Um, Cohabitating does have its negative side. Compared to married couples, cohabiting individuals tend to pool their finances together less than married couples. It's more of an individualistic way of thinking. So you don't have the financial resources of another if you're cohabitating. Um, cohabitation cohabitors also report um, a higher incidence of depression, or more likely to be depressed. Um, they also have a higher rate of domestic violence. Cohabitors place a greater importance and sort of they're more reliant on sexual frequency, and yeah, sexual frequency is a big part of cohabitating people, and also they have more sex outside of the relationship, which also you don't see in marriage and would be unacceptable. Yeah. Another issue of discussion with cohabitating couples is children. When cohabiting, a number of things can happen when a cohabitating couple have children. One is since cohabitating couples have less commitment and they're more likely to break up. They break up, and the child has to deal with the circumstances and has to deal with the constant changing environment. Another thing, it could push the couple towards marriage, and they could get married, or the couple can just stay together and rear the child. But if the couple breaks up, it has a really negative effect. And yeah. Some positive aspects to cohabitation is members are less likely to feel bogged down by the commitment of marriage, and are more likely to feel free. And also, when a cohabitating couple break up, it's not like a divorce where actual legal and financial ties have to be dealt with. Um, and so, in that sense, it's a good, yeah. The structure of cohabitating couples are pretty basic. The only way they can get complicated is if the couple has a child and they split up. Then it could involve the cohabitating couple that broke up and the child lives with one of the parents, and maybe one of the parents remarries. So the structure only gets complicated once a breakup ensues. Um, but yeah. The next family form I'm going to discuss with you is same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage, as the title implies, is when members of the same sex marry each other. So when it's a man and it's a man, it's a homosexuality, or if it's a woman, it's a woman, it's lesbian, lesbianism. Um, the structure of these types of families can vary tremendously, with the simplest form being just the two co-parents and they're just living together. But if they have children from a donor, you could have the two couples, and if they are guys, they would have a biological mother because they egg. Um, and if it was two girls, two lesbians, um, they would have a sperm donor, and there would be a biological male involved. Also, um, homosexual um, or lesbian couples might not have always been that way, and they could have been heterosexual, and they could have had a child previously. So then that person gets involved. And as you can see, it can become very complicated for same-sex marriage couples if children are involved. I didn't realize that. When in reference to artificial insemination, of course. Most of the negativity that revolves around same-sex marriage is cultural and legal discrimination. Um, most states don't even recognize gay couples as being legitimate, and so they won't marry them. They don't have any they can't get any legal documentation that they're in fact married, and that actually puts a lot of tension on couples because marriage is kind of the peak and the kind of goal in a relationship. And when you want to get married and you literally physically can't because the state isn't allowing you to, it just brings tension in between couples, and they're always reevaluating what the relationship is or where it's going. Also, another um, legal thing hindering same-sex couples is in some states they're not even allowed to adopt a child, like such as in Florida, gay couples can't adopt children. Um, but gay people argue that they're the same as heterosexuals. They worry about the same food groups. They go to libraries. They do the same stuff we do. So, but just yeah, a lot of the negativity is legal and social. Like Catholics don't recognize gay couples. Christians protests, that sort of thing. A positive aspect to same-sex marriage, and we discussed this at length in class, is the fact that children who are under the roof of parents who are of the same sex turn out normal or just as normal as a child who is raised under a heterosexual roof where their parents are of different sexes. Another positive thing is a study was done in our book. Lesbian couples who get married, they're more likely to be 100% mother and 100% involved in the workforce, whereas a heterosexual couple, a wife and mother, will not work only part-time to be a full-time mother. Um, and also, another positive thing is when you love someone, and if you weren't able to marry them, it would put a strain on your life as a person. You would be living a lie, and so being able, whether it's wrong or not wrong, marry the one you love, same or opposite sex, releases a lot of burden and makes you more happier. So it improves health um, to same sex marriage couples, married couples rather. The third and final family structure that I'm going to be discussing with you tonight is that of living with your parents past adolescence, like an adult living with parents. Um, we see this more and more because the economy and um, children do that for that reason. They need financial help. Um, the positives obviously are financial help. Also having family around because family's number two, second to God. Um, some negatives are you don't get independence. You might have to deal with the stress of living with your family. We know that all can be stressful. Look at every Thanksgiving you've ever had. Um, Also, the structure of the family depends on your immediate family. So, if your dad remarries and is living with a stepmom, it might change. So, you might live with your dad and your stepmom, or you might live with your biological mother. Or my brother did this actually. If you get married and have children and move back in your parents' house, it'll be your immediate family plus your family that you made on your own. Um, and yeah, some negatives. It gets heated, and yeah.